time, 'cause I wanna freeze this moment. Make it mine, hold you close. Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you, suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Stop the time, 'cause I wanna freeze this moment. Make it mine, hold you close. Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you, suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Do you make it go away?
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it. Good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media and another wonderful, wonderful round of the NEVO Sim Stickers Formula 3 Championship. My name is Chaz Draycott. I'm delighted to be alongside Ed May once again in the commentary box. It's always good fun now. It's become a lot more regular that Ed and I work together. We're at the fantastic Mid-Ohio, though. What an absolutely belting circuit this is. It's a real favourite of mine, Ed. We actually commentated on this circuit again recently together, didn't we? It was an absolute corker then as well.
Yeah, I have to say, this Mid-Ohio circuit is a bit of a hidden gem, you have to say, Chaz. A circuit that isn't raced too much on the iRacing service, but when it is, it provides excellent entertainment. And this is, of course, the first of an American double header, because we go obviously here at Mid-Ohio. Then in a week's time, we go to Charlotte Roval, two circuits that are, well, they couldn't really be more different, could they, Chaz? But I mean, looking forward to all the action here at Mid-Ohio, a circuit that doesn't give the drivers any time to think or rest, does it? You've got the run down into turn one, then the tight hairpin of the keyhole, and you've got a little bit of breathing space, unless you got someone breathing down your neck, coming all the way down into turn four, down that long, sort of not quite straight with a little kink in the middle. Then the rest of the lap is just white knuckle riding, isn't it? All the way over the curbs, the bumps, the undulations as well. That's the main thing here at Mid-Ohio. So difficult because there are so many corners when your driver's eye view that you can't see the apex for. They're completely blind, and when you're going at full chat, it's going to be terrifying.
It really is. It's not easy at all around here, especially that undulation that you mentioned, the final couple of corners. I mean, the Carousel, Thunder Valley, turns 12, 13, 14 and 15, even turns 6 and 7 at the end of the long straight. You know, you go over a massive crest at turn 7, have to get the car slowed down, throw it into turn 8, and it is going to be a very, very big challenge indeed. We're just going to have a quick look at the championship standings. As you see, Bart Daleman is top of the pile at the moment on 96 points to the 87 of Kevin Zemstra. Carlos Garcia and then Carles Alvarez are third and fourth. Though, actually, to be fair, Carles Alvarez is tied with Brian Loynes, who's had a good couple of runs recently, ahead of Mattis Martinson, Ivan Maynard, Jerome Lamy, who was amazing at Donington Park, Nels van der Kokel and Iker Estefania. And then in the consistency standings, Hans Polman's 134 points to his name ahead of Martin Deckens. Those two Flemish SimSport drivers have been very dominant so far. Best of the rest at the moment is Tim Rutten in third position. When we look at the team standings, well, it's Alcantech NHR by Nyman Racing that are currently at the very top of proceedings and doing a very, very good job of it as well. World of Sim Racing Club second ahead of Flemish SimSports by Viraco. Then it's WOSR team on 89 points in fourth, just ahead of year one, but it's incredibly close in that championship as well. But right now, as we look at the circuit itself, we have Kevin Zemstra currently fastest at the moment, and Kevin's been one of those drivers, hasn't he, Ed, that has never disappointed us here on this channel, and well, in any series that we've been commentating on. He's always fun to watch, isn't Kevin?
He's a delight, isn't he? As we see him just go for a little bit of rallycross, and as soon as he hears us talking about him, he decides to get very close to our camera to give us a wonderful shot of that Alcantech NHR Dallara Formula 3 car. But then we've got Jerome Lamy, another driver that has, I think, been a recent addition to a lot of the racing here on Chaz Draycott Media. I don't think I've seen him around before either in any of the leagues I've had the joy of either racing or commentating on, so a little bit of an unknown quantity, but the stuff that he has showed us so far this season has been stunning. We've just come to the end of practice though, Chaz, which means the first race is about to get underway.
It will indeed. Keep your eye on Jerome Lamy. Now, don't forget that the top 10 in the championship get reversed. If there's anybody from the top 10 that isn't here, then basically they will just move up a spot, really. The top 10 in the championship will be reversed. No one else gets dragged into that. Iker Estefani and Jerome Lamy are the front row of the grid with Mattis Martinson and Brian Loynes on row 2. Then we have Carlos Garcia and Kevin Zemstra. Bart Daleman and Ben Hoffman make up row 4. Silas Craig Vrolik starting in 9th position. Then we have Taylor Lane in 10th. Watch out for Taylor. He's the head of the consistency class on the grid. He'll do a good job from there, I'm sure. Paul Godden and Wayne Palmer make it a SimStickers row 6. Then it's Martin Deckens and Hans Polmans, two guys that really need somebody to catch them up in the Consistency Championship, if you ask either I or Ed. Mattis Groen and Daniele Giudici make up the last row of the grid. And the race is already about to get underway then. Let's see what these guys can show us from Mid-Ohio as the next round of the NEVO SimStickers F3 Championship is underway. Looks like a tidy launch by Iker Estefani, and Mattis Martinson gets ahead of Jerome Lamy as well straight away. We've got 14 laps in this first race. Let's see how they navigate turns 1 and 2, because at the top of the hill here, Ed, it can get a little bit sketchy to say the least. Oh, especially if you do that.
Yeah, cold tyres. It was always going to be a worry for drivers around the outside into turn 1 to try and keep it on the sticky black stuff. Kevin Zemstra there, unfortunately, losing out and dropping in behind Paul Godden, who's had a really good start in the consistency class, already up into P9 overall, P1 in, obviously, like we've said, the consistency class, but down in towards turn 4. Kevin Zemstra's going to have a look as always. A big moment there, and that's Mattis Martinson. I'm not sure if he was having a look and maybe got it all wrong on the brakes. We're going to have to go to a replay there, Chaz, because that was a very sudden Alcantech car shooting across our screens.
Yeah, I think he's just gone a bit too late on the brakes. Yeah, just late on the brakes, big understeer, and it just goes straight on. Unfortunately, Taylor Lane has not actually taken to the start, so he is not on the circuit and not out there fighting. We've got this very high up camera through the left-hander just before the carousel. Certainly gives us a good idea of how the cars are behaving. But at the end of lap 1, Iker Estefania has a 1.5 second lead over Brian Loynes. He'll be more than happy with that as the race has begun. Everybody else still trying to filter through. Bart Daleman's gained 2 places. Silas Craig Vrolik has gained 3 right behind him. And we've got a car off. It's Daniele Giudici. Whoa, someone's off even worse. That's Matthias Groen. Wow, he went flying off to the left there, Ed. That was a scary moment. Let's have a look.
This is just down into turn 1. This is Hans Polmans further in front. Oh, Matthias Groen just gets a couple of wheels onto the grass. Then it grips up. Then it loses it again as he hits the grass for a second time, and that's what spears him off to the right. Thankfully, not into the path of any other cars, because you are at full commitment on the exit. It's so difficult to make a sudden move out of the way. So well done for getting it out of harm's way, as we see, well, his Mamba Simsport teammate Bart Daleman duking it out, isn't he, with Silas Greg Frolic just able to keep his car ahead as they make their way just over that crest. And you can see just that shot at the rear end, how light the car gets. It's so sketchy. You saw it in the GT3s, and they're big, heavy, hulking beasts. So here in these F3s, Chaz, it's going to be almost nightmarish coming through there.
Yeah, the car really is going to start floating over the crest of the hill there, and the drivers are going to have to be really, really careful on every little input they use. Front of the consistency class is once again Martin Deckens is in front of him. Ben Hoffman's binned it. Ben's chucked it off. He's hit the wall. I think he's kept it out of harm's way too much. No, he's gone straight back to the pits. We need to quickly look at Wayne Palmer, who has Hans Polmans and Mattis Martinsen behind. I think actually Hansi was fighting with Wayne a moment ago, but he leads the Consistency Championship at the moment. But it's his teammate Martin Deckens that has been an absolute star so far this season, certainly outperforming the rest of the Consistency class. There's calls for him to move up to Precision, but to be honest, he has been just doing enough to fight with these guys, and really he's not been running away too much. It's just whenever he gets a chance to qualify, he then disappears up the road, because he's got a lot of cars between him and them, hasn't he?
Yeah, and that's the main difference, is that Martin Deckens, his one lap pace is absolutely on it, and then that helps him out massively, like you mentioned, in the race. Just going to a little bit of a race that's going on, but Daleman has tried to clear a gap and succeeded in about half a second to Silas Craig Frolic, who is under a lot of pressure from his teammate Kevin Zemstra, and Kevin has got the championship to think about. He's only 9 points shy of Bart Daleman at this midpoint of the season, and I think immediately that has been relayed to his teammate as Kevin slings his way up into turn one. That was good team play, I think you can say, from Alpentech.
Yeah, that's what it needs to do, really. The championship is basically rounding out its first half with this race meeting. We have 10 race meetings this season. This is the 5th of them, so it's certainly flying by when we're having fun, this championship. It's going to be very fun at the next round as well. Bart was messaging me just before it got underway. The second race at Charlotte Roval is going to be like a dusk race, so it's going to be almost night time by the time the race finishes. Now, yes, of course, Formula 3 cars don't have headlights, and neither do they in the sim. They don't even pretend to have headlights in the sim, so the middle of the circuit is going to be rather dark towards the end of the race, but they are going to make sure and do some testing to get it set up properly so that we almost have a night race at Charlotte Roval. I think that is going to be absolutely amazing and a great way to start our second half of the season.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a night race in Formula 3 cars, or almost a night race, is something that I don't know if it'll be the best thing for the drivers to be engaging in. They won't enjoy it, but I know me and you, Chaz, in the comments box, we will be loving every single second of it, won't we? It'll be absolutely brilliant to see them go from the light of the sort of the main start finish and the banking, and then as soon as they get into the infield, it'll be spooky, but it'll be a good fun time, I'm certain, as we have a little bit of a spooky sight for Carlos Garcia, the championship leader, Bart Daleman, closing rapidly in his rear view mirrors. And while Carlos has got to worry about the car behind, he's also trying to worry about the car in front. Jerome Lamy, who is under considerable pressure as they make their way down towards them. You can see the slipstream working its magic, but not enough for Carlos to sling one up down the inside, and has to bide his time and try and find a way through as they come onto the very technical section of the circuit, isn't it? All the way down before you get towards Thunder Valley. It's so difficult, and especially that final right-hander that we're going to come up to over this crest. It's so difficult to get right. You're going to see it here. Just look at it on the edge, especially there from Jerome Lamy. The rear end was kicking out massively.
Yeah, big slide there as he got on the power as early as possible. This is the left-hander now, just before the carousel. Look, there's a crest there. You can see the cars level out. They sort of shimmy their way over to the left-hand side of the circuit, and then when it compresses over the crest, then the drivers just chuck it in and hope for the grip to be there. Now, worth noticing that Carlos Garcia, or worth noting, I should say, that Carlos Garcia set the fastest lap of the race last time round. So he is, or was, on a charge, but Jerome Lamy has opened up a bit more of a gap this time. Look at the many different lines that you can take through the double right-hander there at the top of the hill, the keyhole. You can go in a bit early really tuck it into the apex and then let the car sort of run out wide on the exit, or you can take a late apex and sort of tuck it in on the exit. So you'll see a lot of people trying different things through there, maybe trying moves as well. Some drivers don't like trying to get a move done there because you can really compromise yourself on the exit and down the hill. Taylor has said in the chat that he was trying to fix a problem with his PC. He's missed the start. He's come out of the pits and gone back in again, I'm afraid. So clearly something not going right there. Just had a blip there myself as well, if I'm honest. Apologies for that issue there, everybody. It seems like whatever happened was very, very sudden at my end. I'm just fixing everything now to try and get back into this, so you are going to have to bear with me here. But we do rejoin Ed, I believe, in the chat. Are you there, Mr. May?
Yep, I think we're all up and running once more. Apologies for everything going on, but while we are reconnecting back into the server, I can see all the pictures, so we're going to have, yet again, Radio Ed May. It's been a while since we last had this, Chaz, so it's good to have it back. Just following at the moment the battle between Daleman and Zemstra now, which is closed up. Daleman's actually lost a little bit of ground, it seems, to Carlos Garcia. And Brian Loynes, he finds himself up into second place with Jerome Lamy now trying to close the gap down. It's all very close up towards the front end of the field. The consistency class, it seems, Chaz, has started to expand a little bit. There's maybe a little bit of closeness between Deckens and Polmans, but of course, Flavor Simsworld's teammates, they aren't going to be scrapping it out too much. Mattis Martinson, though, he's not been having the best of times. He's struggling down in 10th place behind a couple of those Mamish cars, and just not the races, unfortunately.
No, I mean we've seen a couple of drivers before where they are quite inconsistent in their performances, and it obviously makes it unpredictable for us and makes it enjoyable to watch sometimes. But some drivers really do struggle to string a season together. It becomes a bit more obvious with some of them where there's a circuit that they can get on with and circuits that they definitely can't. So it's a shame to see that Mid-Ohio is a little bit of an Achilles heel for some, because it's a hell of a circuit to drive.
Yeah, and in the case of Mattis, I mean, Sebring, the start of the season, I was very excited about him coming out of it. I mean, he was looking very good for pace and looking like someone that would be able to challenge right up there at the top, but it just hasn't seemed to materialize. He's had rotten luck at certain rounds. I mean, Imola, he could have gone a lot better for Mattis, that's for certain. Again, here at Mid-Ohio, track just doesn't seem to suit his driving style, which is a shame. But I think now we are starting to regain pictures, and we can go to this close battle. Jerome Lamy right in the thick of action.
Yes, he is indeed. He is right on it at the moment. Third place overall, just 3 seconds off the lead. I'm going to fade the music out because we don't need that anymore. But yeah, great scrap by these guys at the front so far during this race. Lamy, again, looking to just be that entertaining factor, I think. He's been very, very entertaining all season. A little bit further back, we have Zemstra and Craig Vrolik. Obviously, let his teammate through earlier. A little bit of a moment there for Kevin Zemstra. He doesn't want to let Silas Craig Vrolik back through, that is for sure. But Iker Estefania now doing a wonderful job in the lead here. And to be honest with you, it almost comes as a surprise to see him starting so high up the order because of the reverse championship order, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, Iker Estefania, he sacrificed the win. Let's not forget last time out at the line for his teammate to try and, you know, reduce that gap, that deficit down to Bart Daleman. But I think here, Iker Estefania, he's not going to give this victory up, is he? He's not going to want to give Brian Loynes any more reason to climb up the order. No, this is going to be Iker Estefania trying to bring it home right up until the end of the race, and he looks to be doing a brilliant job for securing exactly that. 2.5 seconds to Brian Loynes. That in the pair of them so evenly matched on pace, just a 1/10 of a second differential between the pair of them. Estefania did a 15.95. Brian Loynes did a 16.04. So as close as you like in terms of pace, but as soon as Iker Estefania has broken that toe, he can just keep on it and look after the tyres, look after just his physical strength as well, because there's a lot of a longer race coming up, that's for certain.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, the second race is much longer in this championship. We have pit stops to think about as well. So it's going to be a very, very big challenge. Paul Godden has unfortunately been off the road. He's just clipped the curb on the inside there. Goes into the carousel. A little bit late. Oh, he's clipped the grass. And, oh, the car's in the wall and out of the race. And that's very easy to do there, isn't it? Because you go over that crest and it just doesn't respond at all. The car just goes completely straight on, doesn't it? It's a very painful moment to have.
Really is. It's gutting to have something like that happen to you, and all you can do is dust yourself off and just go fully at it for the next race. Thankfully, there are 2 races, so it's not like his night is completely over and done with. There's still a chance to get something back, but it's definitely a big disappointment, to say the least. But here we go, Jerome Lamy. He's got an amazing run, didn't he, out of the keyhole and down towards turn 4, through the kink of turn 3. He's been sent the long way around by Brian Loynes. He's going to squeeze him out wide. And then Jerome Lamy looking for the cutback. He's going to have a great run into the next corner, but nowhere through. So wonderful stuff defending by Brian Loynes. Just putting his car exactly where he needs to keep that year 1 car in behind.
Yeah, doing a smashing job at the moment. Lovely, lovely stuff by the pair of them. Nice close racing, but still respectful at the same time. You know, they gave each other as much room as they needed. They didn't take the mick with it. Daniele Giudici has just had a problem a little bit further down, I'm afraid, as well. He's had either a spin or has hit the wall or something. He hasn't jumped to the pits or anything, though, so I think he's just had a bit of a moment out on track and managed to continue. But with only 1 lap to go after this, Iker Estefania is looking good at the front so far. He's got quite a train, though. A couple of seconds back in 2nd place. You can see the gap there. He is just at the top of the hill. These 6 cars are about 3 seconds behind him. And Jerome Lamy is the one to watch right now, if you ask me. Giudici's off. Oh, he's off big time. Daniele Giudici is definitely out of this race, it has to be said. But we go back to this, though, Ed. I mean, a lap round here is not long at all. 1 minute 15 seconds in a Formula 3 car. Before you know it, this race is going to be done and dusted. Who's going to be second? Who's going to be third?
I mean, it's looking like Brian Loynes at the moment. He's been defending really well and is able to get that gap extended where he needs to, all the way down that sort of back straight almost. He's got enough of an advantage to keep Jerome Lamy in behind. All it will really come down to, I think, is a mistake on Brian Loynes' part, which we've seen how consistency has really been his hallmark this season. I can't imagine him giving up just yet, although Jerome Lamy, we know how good he is in terms of racecraft. He had a brilliant battle, let's not forget, at Belle Isle, didn't he, with Bart Daleman. That was a wonderful race. But now, final lap, the white flag is being waved, and I'll tell you what, Jerome Lamy is a lot closer now as they make their way through turn 1.
He is indeed. He's going to be tucked right up behind him, but that's not going to give him much of a slipstream, much of a slingshot. As they go up towards the keyhole, Brian Loynes keeps the car on the inside. Jerome Lamy goes to the left. He tries to be as late as he can on the brakes. So too does Brian. Brian keeps it nice and tucked to the apex. Jerome's going to get a mega run off this, though. Need to keep our eye on him as we go down the hill again. You can see him just making his way to the left. Right behind them, Carlos Garcia wants a piece of this as well. Wants to try and get 2 of the WOSR cars on the podium. Jerome tries to keep Brian to the right. And down the inside goes Carlos Garcia. Oh, and he's running to the back of Brian. Oh, and Jerome's off as well. That means Bart Daleman's going to come through. Zemstra's through. Craig Vrolik's through. Oh, that's gone down like a cup of cold sick with Brian Loynes, I can tell you that. Oh, he will be absolutely fuming. You could argue that Carlos didn't have to go for the move there, but, oh, man, it really didn't pay off. There was quite a high risk involved, and all 3 of them ended up off the road. But this man, Iker Estefania, well, he started at the very front of the field. He's going to finish the race at the front of the field and take some good points away from this one. Estefania wins at Mid-Ohio. Fantastic drive, beautiful performance. Daleman second, Zemstra third, Craig Vrolik fourth. Carlos Garcia, well, that's going to be salt in the wound. He finishes ahead of the guys that he was involved with. Martin Deckens takes another win in consistency ahead of his teammate Hans Polmans. They were 6th and 9th respectively. Wayne Palmer gets a podium in the class. But Iker Estefania is your race winner in this one, but that will not go down well at all, Ed.
No, that really wasn't. It was even in Carlos Garcia's best interest to go for that move down the inside. He was going to try and close that gap down to his main championship rivals, Bart Daleman, Kevin Zemstra. But with that, he allows them through from that big incident, taking pretty much all 3 of these podium fighters out. I'm not sure how Jerome Lamy got caught in this. Just looks like he loses it by himself. I think the sound of contact on his inside, I think, scared him more than anything into that mistake.
Yeah, it seemed like there was some sort of net code, though. If we look at the right rear suspension, watch, it suddenly jolts there.
Oh.
I think, I mean, that was horrendous net code, but I think the spin of Brian Loyne's car has actually sort of triggered something there, and I think it has resulted in net code, unfortunately. But there you go. Iker Estefania takes the first win of the evening, and, well, I mean, the race flew by because of the technical issues, for which I apologise, everybody, but still, Mid-Ohio has delivered already here, Ed. I can't wait for the feature now.
Yeah, I really can't. It's going to be a real treat, so please stay tuned to all the action here on Chaz Draycott Media. 35 laps it will be of Mid-Ohio. Iker Estefania has done the job in the first race of the evening, but what can he do in the second when all the drivers are unleashed in qualifying? That's going to be the real key, and especially, Chaz, for qualifying. Track space is going to be at a premium, especially through tight, twisty section that we're looking at now. That's going to be spicy in qualifying, to say the least.
It is indeed. It's going to be very, very spicy. Now, I apologise, everybody, because this camera right here is going to be ridiculously loud. I edited it before, but now I got kicked out of the sim. It's going to be loud again, so I apologise. I turned the volume down earlier, is what I'm saying. Now, there is your confirmed result then. Iker Estefania wins from Bart Daleman and Kevin Zemstra. Silas Craig Vrolik finishes fourth ahead of Carlos Garcia. Martin Deckens wins the consistency class ahead of Mattis Martinson and Jerome Lamy. Hans Pullman's second in consistency ahead of Wayne Palmer, who rounds out your top 10. And it's Brian Loyne's the last car on the lead lap. One lap down was Daniele Giudici. Paul Godden, Matthias Groen, Taylor Lane and Ben Hoffman did not finish the race. And as mentioned, we're going to have a long feature race coming your way very shortly. Again, I apologise for the disconnection there. I've not had that problem in absolutely ages, and anybody that watches my broadcasting knows that, you know, these issues used to plague me quite a lot. We do think it's related to the hot weather. As stupid as that may sound, the cabinet for all of the broadband in our area is literally right outside our house, but it's also sat in broad daylight all day, and when the weather does get hotter, we have noticed around sort of lunchtime and in the evenings, that's when it goes absolutely to pot. So fingers crossed it doesn't become a regular occurrence again, because I will tear all of what's left of my hair out, and I'm sure that Ed will probably do the same, having to put up with all of my disconnects and having to do Radio Ed May all the time. So I apologise for that, but we do have an absolute corker of a race coming your way, so please do stick with us here on Chaz Draycott Media. We'll be back with you in a couple of minutes with race 2. We'll see you in a few.
Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you, suddenly I feel no pain. Can you make it go away? Can you make it? Can you make it go away? I was so sure of our love. I never thought of any reason, a doubt about us. And now I'm right back at the start. Halfway through a bottle, baby, and nothing to know. I thought that I could keep it low. Take it easy, take it slow. We ended up just like before. So take it easy, take it easy. I thought that I could keep it low. Take it easy, take it slow. We ended up just like before. So take it easy. And you know how to forget all the wrongs and every reason why we've changed. And there's a storm inside my head. It's getting me in trouble, baby, and I can't break away. I thought that I could keep it low. Take it easy, take it slow. We ended up just like before. So take it easy, take it easy. I thought that I could keep it low. Take it easy, take it slow. We ended up just like before. So take it easy.
Hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here at Mid-Ohio for the NEVO SimStickers Formula 3 Championship. We're here for the second race of the evening, the feature race, which is going to have a lot more laps than the first one, and we're going to have pit stops to think about as well. But we have another twist in the tail, don't we, Ed, that you have just enlightened me to, mate?
Yeah, it won't have any effect. It might have an effect on some of the graphics, but it won't have an effect on the proceedings, thankfully, tonight. And I'm sure all the drivers will be relieved that while I have joined as a driver in the session, I won't actually be taking part. I pressed the wrong button or clicked the wrong menu when joining into the server. This is why the iRace member site is just a mess, really. So I need to get more and more used to using the UI, but there we go. I'll try not to make that mistake again in a hurry.
Indeedy, mate. Indeedy. Now, let's not forget we have a practice session going on right now, but also we have qualifying ahead of the second race of the night. The first grid is organised in championship order with the top 10 reversed and then everybody else piling in behind. And then we have qualifying for the second race of the evening. So outright pace here will put drivers further up the order as this session goes on. And to be fair, it's interesting, isn't it, Ed? Because it means that rather than the first race of the night be sort of in their control in terms of the grid and then they have to sort of react accordingly, this is their chance to make up some ground if they've had a bad first race. So swapping the sort of roles of the two races over the evening is quite intriguing.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, there are some drivers with points to prove, some that will be disappointed with how their first race went and looking to try and make up on that. I mean, Carlos Garcia, you'll have to say, is definitely one of them after the disappointing end to his race. Let's not forget him involved in that big incident into turn 4. But then, of course, you've got Bart Daleman, who's looking to try and extend his advantage in the championship. Already did it last time around by finishing ahead of Kevin Zemstra, only by 1 position, but still extending his advantage slightly. But then when it comes to qualifying, what answer will he have to maybe the qualifying pace of Kevin Zemstra? Because, I mean, in the first race, before we got actually into the race, we were looking at the times in practice. Kevin Zemstra was the fastest driver out on the circuit.
Yeah, indeed. Bart's apparently got or had very little sleep as well ahead of this, so he might not be at his very best. So this could be a chance for Kevin to really try and benefit from that. He currently finds himself without a time on the board, but it's only the opening moments of this sort of session, really. Some of these guys, they'll just do laps as Jerome Lamy has a bit of a spin on the grass there. But yeah, I think Zemstra right now, he's only putting a few sighting laps in, just getting used to how the track is. Some of the drivers will do this in a practice session or a warm-up. You know, they'll think, well, the track could be 5 degrees hotter than it was before. That can make a big difference in iRacing, so I'm just going to go out there and just test what the surface feels like underneath the car, because a car like this is a lot more sensitive to those temperature changes, isn't it?
Absolutely, and especially in these opening few laps, it's a good way to gauge how the car will react as you go into turn 1 for the first time, when you've got the tyres down on their temperatures, not quite in that perfect window. With a circuit that's hotter and slippier, of course, the tyres will warm up quicker, but it means that it's going to be so much harder to actually get them up and running in the first few moments through the first few corners, because it will be sliding constantly and you'll be fighting it all the way through with about 5 other F3s either side of you.
Yeah, well, that's it. And obviously they don't want to spike the temperatures too much, because then the tyre reacts badly and it'll feel absolutely horrendous for the rest of the race. But as things are at the moment, Kevin Zemstra, we saw there, was just practicing his pit entrance. Now, it's something of a very strong talking point, is pit entries after Donington Park. Now, we always discuss that, you know, drivers, if they want to save time and they want to make sure that they have a good pit stop, they have to practice their pit entrance and make sure that they know the fastest way of getting in, because you can save those very important tenths, especially in a championship where you know you have to pit, like this one. But at Donington Park, we saw the need for that practice for the opposite reason, as a driver entered the pits a lot slower than other drivers would have expected, and there was a big old shunt, wasn't there?
Yeah, and that was just unfortunately what happens when drivers don't practice. They can create those situations that nobody wants to be a part of. Thankfully, I think that message has been nailed into their heads, and maybe, you know, putting your hand on the stove, you're not going to do that a second time. You learn, because it hurts. That's the thing. You don't ever learn from seeing, you learn, unfortunately, from the consequences of the actions. That does mean, of course, that they won't repeat it in a hurry, and that should be the last time we'll see something like that this season, Chaz. Maybe not for future seasons. I can't speak for the drivers on future seasons, but at least for this one, they'll be a lot better in that regard. But what you're talking about, just the competitive aspect of getting that pit entry nailed down on a series such as this, where the drivers are so evenly matched on pace. I mean, we saw that they were lapping within a tenth of one another consistently up at the top of the field. If you can shave half a second or so in the pits, that can be the difference between gaining a position or losing a position. And we go into qualifying now, Chaz. But I think a lot of what we've been talking about, firming the drivers' minds in preparation for this race.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot going to be playing on their minds here as they circulate now as quickly as they can. It looks to me like it's Carlos Garcia that is the first car out of the pit lane. And yep, Matthew Crisp in the chat, a good supporter of the channel as well. Good to see you, mate. Stating that there is no brake dragging going on here at least. Yeah, for anybody that's sort of not been in the loop with it recently. I mean, I haven't fully been in the loop with it personally, but the whole brake dragging situation that we sometimes see at the top end of iRacing in very competitive scenes like the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup and series such as that, you will see a lot of drivers brake dragging where they basically slow the car down, they superheat the rim basically, and it's a way of sort of heating up the tyres, getting them to temperature where iRacing exaggerates it without wearing the tyre out. So you get a hot tyre that hasn't been scrubbed and hasn't been used up. So, and a lot of people are doing that. I've been told of drivers that are, 2K I rating, easily out driving and out qualifying other drivers with 5K I rating and 6K I rating, just for the fact that the brake dragging makes that much of a difference. But the guys here, they would have been told straight away, look, if you're going to even think about doing this, then you're going to get a massive slap on the wrist. You're going to get a baseball bat to the wrist, basically. So, there's a number of series and leagues all over iRacing where the drivers and the competitors, they all respect each other enough and the series enough to not do it. And it's obviously, from what we've seen so far in this session, it looks like this is definitely one of them, which doesn't surprise me. There's always good camaraderie here. Yeah,
absolutely. It's all about that community aspect that has been fostered from Simracersworld and carried over in towards NEVO, and it's brilliant to see the drivers not trying any of this silly business. They're just going out, qualifying as intended, I think is fair to say it, Chaz. Just them, the track, doing a few laps to obviously bed the tyres in, get them up to temperature. I mean, here at Mid-Ohio, I have a feeling the tyres are going to come into there a little bit quicker than they were at Donington Park. And while Donington is a track that does use a lot of tyres being high-speed flowing corners consistently, but again, you're running the right-hand tyres a lot. And you can just see there Chaz making his feelings known about the people who brake drag.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was whoever's behind race control sending information through, not on our behalf. The first lap times are just going to pop up on the left-hand side now. Zemstra goes fastest to 1:16.5. Deccan's up there straight away, 1:16.8. Martin Deckens is an absolute star, isn't he? He's absolutely amazing.
Oh, brilliant stuff.
Bart Delman. Oh, Craig Frolic just sneaking in there as well. It's already close.
They're all sneaking through. Yeah, they're all sneaking through. Of course, the time's not quite down to where we're expecting. We saw race times, didn't we, in the 1:15s. So expect qualifying to heat up a little bit more. But yeah, they are starting to sneak through just a little bit. Bart Daleman not going full chat at the moment, looking to find himself in a bit of a window there. He had cars up in front that were going to slow him down through the sort of last couple of sectors and decided to put himself in the best possible space. I mean, he's also losing a lot of heat from the tyres by doing this, which isn't going to help him out at all. It might take him another few laps before he's properly in that window, but he had to slow down a lot to let all of these cars through. Look at this. Look at Jerome Levy. He's wringing the neck of his Year 1 F3 Cup. Really squirrely over the exit, but nice and stable as well. He didn't slide it a lot, didn't scrub a lot of speed off. We will see times come down. You can see greens all across the bottom there as Kevin Zemstra improves on his previous best, but keep your eye open on Martin Deckens, who goes a couple of tenths quicker than Zemstra to the top of the overall and consistency class. But then Jerome Lamy, who we saw absolutely tearing the circuit apart, has shot up to the top of the timing screens there. Wonderful effort from Jerome. We know he can go quicker. We know plenty more drivers can go quicker as the tyres start to warm up and bed in a little bit more, and as more rubber gets laid down on the circuit, we're going to see those times get even quicker, because let's not forget, Chaz, it's a completely clean slate from race 1 to race 2. The circuit has got none of that progression that we've seen from the practice, the qualifying, and then to the race carried over into this session.
Yeah, that's it. It is completely clean slate is the exact description we should give it, really, because there is no sort of time been put into this circuit or any build-up of any form of rubber or certain lines. So drivers now have to get that rubber down and crack on with it as soon as they can. Nicholas Rasmussen says he's hiding in the corner eating pineapple with pizza on while researching brake dragging techniques.
No.
Oh, no.
No, brake dragging's for people who don't put chocolate in the fridge. We're back on this, Chaz. We're back on it.
How do I kick you from Discord?
As Kevin Zemstra, back on it, back to the top of the timing sheets. Quickly moving on, Chaz.
But Silas Craig Frolic goes just above him as well. Look at that, 15.6. That's more like the times we were expecting. Still incredibly close at the top, though. 6/10 separating the top 7. Pullmans goes into 8th, can't quite beat Martin Deckens there. He's nearly half a second off his teammate, but we've seen how quick he has. Bart Daleman with a 1:15.7. Even closer to the top spot of Silas Craig Frolic, but this is the man right now, number 28, pole position provisionally, and he's been doing a good job. Silas has always been quick. I mean, he's very fast in the Chaz Draycott Media Formula 1 World Championship, which some of you may have seen or competed in, Ed. But Silas has been one of the guys right up there at the top end of the order in almost every race. He finished second in every round so far this season to Cam Dance, who has won every round this season so far. But Silas, unfortunately, had a bit of a coming together with Cam when fighting for the lead in the latest race, which was the Spanish Grand Prix, as we call it, at Circuit Barcelona Catalunya. Up goes Deckens once again after 5 personal best sectors on that lap. That must have been a real belter for Martin. He must be pleased with that one.
I mean, there's nothing better than a good qualifying lap, is there? It's just so good when you hook it up, you get it right, you nail it. And on a track like Mid-Ohio that's so technical, so tricky to get right, one small mistake can cost you a whole heap of time on a lap that is very short, let's not forget. Just watching Craig Frolic come down now, though. He's at the top of the timing sheets and going to try all he can do to stay ahead of Bart Daleman. Bart is obviously, as we know, very rapid and taken a little while to get up and running in terms of his qualifying times. Obviously trying to find the perfect window, and now he's going to be just going flat out for it. Kevin Zemstra, though, look at that. Greens all across the board. This could be a very quick lap time here from the 88. We saw his performance in practice earlier on. What can he do now as he rounds through the final corner? Chaz, he's going to come up to the line. Green again. Is it enough for pole position? Yes, it is by 1.7 tenths of a second.
Yeah, purple sectors 3 and 4, actually. I'm not quite sure why they didn't go purple on our screens, but yeah, amazing stuff by Kevin Zemstra. Silas Craig Frolic second, so that's the 2 Alcantech NHR by Nyman Racing drivers at the top. Now, let's not forget, they have the championship lead in the team's standings, if I am not mistaken. Here's Bart Daleman coming to the line. 2 personal bests on this lap, but 2 non-improvements. He still goes up and splits those 2 Alcantech cars. Martin Deckens on 4th spot at the moment. He's having an absolute belter out there, isn't he? Again, he's so quick, and I mean, there are obviously calls for him to go up to precision, which, well, it's not surprising, it has to be said.
I mean, I'm surprised that Hans Pullmans has not quite had the qualifying he was hoping for. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen, down on Paul Godden by around about 1.5 tenths of a second. It's not a lot, but on a lap that's incredibly short, 1 minute 15 seconds the pole time, that will, of course, be, well, not the news that he was hoping for. He'd be definitely looking to try and be the second best car in that consistency class behind his teammate Martin Deckens. But looking at this, Taylor Lane in this 54 car, I mean, I love the livery there. I've not seen too much of these 54 cars this season, but great to see Taylor Lane out there repping the colours. Beautiful car.
Yeah, they always have stunning cars to Fiercely Forward. They look very, very strong indeed. Always a pleasure.
Black and yellow, very Jordan-esque.
Yeah, especially with all the jagged shapes on it as well. It is very Jordan-esque. As Bart Daleman goes to the top of the times by 0.2 of a second. What an incredible, incredible time that is. Really strong stuff by Bart, 1:15.2. Really not sure why purple sectors aren't showing up as purple on our little qualifying display at the bottom, so apologies for that, everyone. But I've just checked in the little details that we can change, and it is set to purple. Not quite sure why. There is a discussion going on about brake dragging in the chat. I don't think it's worth us weighing in at the moment. You know, my thoughts are basically that I'm not happy about it either. I don't like the fact that it can be done. I don't think people should do it. And I get what Anton Dupin's saying. Here I'm weighing in on it after saying I'm not going to. Anton, of course, making a fair point. It works in real life and it works in the sim, but it's the way that it works in the sim. It shouldn't work.
Yeah.
It's basically an exploit and a loophole. So,
because I think,
yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Chaz, but from my knowledge of the way that the sim works, is that brake temperatures and tire temperatures are one and the same in our race. And if you have cold tires, you have cold brakes. And if you have hot tires, overheated tires, your brakes are overheated, is how at least my knowledge works. It's one of the weird quirks of iRacing I found.
I think they're relative to each other, yeah. I think the way that iRacing does it is it really does match them. So if you do heat the rim and heat the brakes, it does put temperature into the tyre without wearing it down, but at certain speeds and so on, it doesn't affect the level of grip left in the tyre and so on. There are a lot of particulars about it and the speeds and ways you can do it, but yeah. Either way, I think it's safe to say in this championship here, any that are broadcasted on the channel, really, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with doing it at all. You know, it is an exploit and it is a loophole. The only reason I think we see people doing it at the top level is at the end of the day, they're competing for massive teams, massive brands, a lot of money. They have to do it to stay in contention. You know, it's not because they want to do it, but they just have to, because if not, then they just get left behind. And it's a shame it goes that way.
I'll quickly erase the plan from my mind then. Brake dragging for the GT4s, but no, I totally agree with you, Chaz. I'm not really that big of a fan of it, so I'm glad to know I'm not alone, and I just don't think people should be exploiting the system.
No.
If you're qualifying, you should try and keep it a level playing field. I mean, you can say, oh, we're leveling the playing field. Everybody's doing it, but if there's one person, because it's optional, if there's one person that doesn't do it, they're at a massive disadvantage. And
yeah,
it's not the pure sort of qualify, the motorsport experience that you want to try and replicate here in the sim, because, you know, sim racing is a supplement or a substitute for the real thing at the end of the day, and you want it to be, at least me and you, Chaz, as commentators, we want it to be as close to the real deal as possible, because that's what we enjoy it for, and that's why I think everyone here is for as well, to enjoy racing to the closest degree possible. That's what you get on iRacing, for certain, as we see drivers come across the line, Chaz, not able to improve on that benchmark set by Bart Daleman.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like any improvements are coming our way, unfortunately, so a number of them now struggling to beat times. A lot of them getting improvements in the first sector, but then nowhere else on the lap. Jerome Lamy comes across the line, remains in 6th place. Clearly not a hot lap from him, though. He obviously made a bit of a mistake partway through and then backed off for the rest of it. There's cones in the middle of the road there as we see Kevin Zemstra come towards us. Martin Deckens is fastest at the moment. When you see the two best times in the classes, you can see that Ed May there has apparently done a 1:15.272, or at least there's a third class with that counted. I don't know who on earth has set that. Oh, I think that's actually because it's overall. It's an overall class. So basically, that is Bart's time. It's just that they're both 1:15s, and then there's loads of 7s, 1s, and 2s. Anyway, it is what it is. Martin Deckens.
I'll say that I did that time.
Yeah.
Let's pretend that it was me.
Ed May matching Bart Daleman in qualifying. Would you believe it? Love it. It's not the mystery machine though that you were racing at Zandvoort, is it?
No, I don't think so. I can't remember what it is now. I think it's the I think I've got a different livery on. I don't know what it is because I popped into the server and I don't, or popped into the car. And I don't intend to because I know that will cause all sorts of havoc for our timing software. But I think I've got a different livery on. I don't think it's the mystery machine. I can't remember what it is.
For anyone that hadn't seen it before, was it last season? It was last season, wasn't it? Ed actually. Whoa, hello, Brian Loyne spins. Ed actually raced in the Simracersworld Formula 3 series as it was, but the Sim Stickers Simracersworld Formula 3 series, and he ran it in a car running the Mystery Machine livery from Scooby-Doo, and it looked absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
It's because I didn't have a Scooby-Doo of what I was doing.
Yeah, well, neither did I when I saw it, but either way, it was a wonderful little cameo, and here you are back in the box with me. Sorry.
Yeah, back in and glad to be here. Hopefully for the foreseeable, mate. Because I'm very glad to be on board. It's a series that I enjoyed watching even before I was taking part in any of the action, watching all the broadcasts, and thinking, you know what? I'm not quick in the F3, but it looks like a lot of fun.
Whoa, that's not fun.
That's not a fun. No, that's not going to be fun for Paul Gordon. Quickly, it's out of the way. This is through turn 1. Does he just overrun it on the exit? Oh no! Chunks it over the curb.
I love how he just plants his foot. Just absolutely plants his foot. We'll listen to it again. We've got the right rear suspension view. He just, once he's off, he just nails the throttle. Listen. I think he tried to actually. I'm not sure whether that was like he just floored it out of frustration because he knew he was going off, or
yeah, I think it's
whether he like just thought, you know what, I could probably keep this if I just keep my speed up.
I mean, it was close, wasn't it? I mean, it wasn't a million miles off from him there. But I've just noticed as well, yeah, Jack in the chat, that was his first race in any organised league too. I remember, yeah. I brought you into this iRacing world. I mean, I'm not going to take you out because you've been bitten by the iRacing bug, and once that happens, you're never leaving. Stockholm syndrome is very, very strong here on these services. I'm sure you could attest, Chaz, the amount of content that
oh god
you pick up and buy and spend loads of time racing is, yeah. You think you're done, and then it pulls you right back in.
Yeah, if you ever want to get into sim racing, just remember what your wallet looks like when there's money in it.
Oh.
Try and remember that. But it's all
it's
worth it.
It's been too long since I saw that. I can't remember what it looks like. I'm sorry, I've forgotten.
I've got to try and get to Spain tomorrow. I say try and get to, like I've not made a plan yet. Obviously I am flying, but yeah, it's another expensive 5 days away. So even the real world of motorsport is taking my money off me right now, not just the sim racing.
Hopefully no more delayed flights.
Yeah, hopefully not. These ones are direct. I don't have to go from France to England via Italy this time round, which was a stupid flight plan, but it was cheap. Anyway, we only have a couple of minutes left of this session right now, and still, Mattis Martinson's actually improved, has he? Yes, goes up a place to 8th position. We're not seeing that many improvements, though, are we, Ed? Not really anything extra from these guys, other than the odd faster first sector still. That's popping up every so often, but no one's improving on the whole lap.
Yeah, which is a real shame. And another thing that I wanted to say is a shame is that Jacob is in the chat but not on the track. Unfortunately, yeah. I think he's had a bit of an incident and has been told doctor's orders not to do a thing. Apparently, thinking he broke his leg or something and is under doctor's orders not to do anything strenuous. So wishing you all the best, Jacob. Hopefully we'll see you. Hopefully it's at least in a better state in a week's time for Charlotte, because I mean, it's going to be a brilliant race. Charlotte is always fun, and I mean, I remember driving it in F3s. It's one of the circuits actually I remember driving when they brought out the F3s for the first time. I thought, you know what, let's try a track that I haven't driven a lot, Charlotte. Try and learn both the track and the car, and oh, it was brilliant.
Yeah, it's quite a flowing circuit, especially the newer Roval as well. A lot less sort of tight corners in there, and it really flows, especially that last section before you get onto the oval. And it's going to be amazing fun to watch as Martinson goes second fastest, 77 thousandths off Bart Daleman. What a great time that is by the Swede. Mattis Martinson, lovely stuff ahead of Zemstra.
And that's the thing about Mattis Martinson that almost frustrates me, because he's so quick, but it's the consistency to get that time out constantly. This is the Mattis Martinson that we saw at Sebring at the start of the season, where he was putting into really good times, really getting up there at the front. And now, is this going to be the resurgence from him? Hopefully so, because the more drivers we have fighting up at the front, the better it is for me and you, Chaz, the more we enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The more it's unpredictable, the more entertaining it is, because you see these drivers absolutely loving it and getting amongst it, but you see them in positions that you don't see them in every single week. You know, it's not always the same order. Take the British Touring Car Championship, for example. I often say to people, if you want to explain BTCC to them and how the results go, you could just put all the names in a hat, on a little bit of paper, throw the hat in the air, and whichever one of them hits the ground first is probably going to win the race. You know, there's so many different orders they can finish in BTCC, because it is so close all the way through the field, and we do get hints of that here. You see drivers having to make their way through, drivers dropping back, having incidents. It's so different race after race here that it's one of the reasons we love it so much. Silas Craig Rollick said that he dropped a gearbox on Jakob's leg. That's not very nice.
That's not nice at all, Silas. Come on. But as you see the checkered flag being waved in qualifying, and I mean, I think we've got some discourse going there, because Alex Johnson's firmly on Team Chocolate in the fridge, which is brilliant. As
oh my life. Oh, Jerome, what have you done to that car? What on earth was that? Well, car 1P1, Bart Daleman looks like he's got it all in the bag, and Daniele Giudici is the only other car out on track, and he will now round out the session, I believe. No one else will put any further laps in. Bart Daleman is going to take pole position here at Mid-Ohio in the second race of the evening. And not quite the frantic, fraught session we expected there, Ed. It was a little bit shuffly at the beginning, let's say, but after about the 10-minute mark, there weren't too many improvements again, were there?
Yeah, it looked for a while to be Kevin Zemstra that was top of the pack, but then Bart Daleman set a stonking lap time, didn't he? A really quick time, a 1:15.2 that nobody else could match. Mattis Martin got close towards the closing stages of qualifying, but it just wasn't enough. And the scary thing is, Bart Daleman's been putting in some very quick times consistently in that qualifying session. His best time was a 1:15.27. The last time that he did was a 1:15.33. So that still would have been enough for pole position. Scary stuff if you're trying to dethrone Bart Daleman from his championship at this stage. But I mean, anything can happen. Part of me was wishing that I could get out on track and just hold us hostage as well and wait until you admitted that chocolate belongs in the fridge before you eat it. But I think we can see the session has ticked over and you're released, Chaz. Run us through the starting order for the feature race.
Bart Daleman, as mentioned, car 1P1 on the front row alongside Mattis Martinson. Great time from Mattis there. Kevin Zemstra and Iker Estefania make up row 2 ahead of Silas Craig Rollick and the superstar Martin Deckens leading the consistency field again. Jerome Lamy's quite surprised down in 7th place ahead of Brian Loynes in 8th. Carlos Garcia and Taylor Lane round out your top 10. Just behind them is Hans Polmans and Wayne Palmer on row 6, with Paul Godden and, well, Daniele Giudici on row 7, Ed May from the United Kingdom. No team name allocated here in our project file. Ed May will not, of course, start the race on the grid. He will start it up here in the commentary box.
Don't tempt me.
And
Don't tempt me.
I ask you once again, Ed, who's your money on here? Who do you reckon, mate?
Ed May is going to have an amazing charge up through the field. It's going to be beautiful. No, in all seriousness, Bart Daleman did look very good in qualifying. His consistency is going to cause a lot of headaches for the likes of Mattis Martinson and Kevin Zemstra in behind. And what are those two drivers going to do? Alcontech teammates, are they going to try and help each other out? Are we going to see maybe preferential treatment given to Kevin, being as he's that little bit close in the championship? Or is Kevin going to sit in behind and allow Mattis to fight because he has nothing really to lose? He's too far back in the championship, and just see if he can upset Bart Daleman and go for that race victory. It's going to be all up in the air, Chaz, but any one of those three drivers, I think, are in with a brilliant shot of taking full points this evening.
Well, we have the couple of moments now before this race gets underway, about 20 seconds to go, and they will all be cleared to run. We're just waiting for Carlos Garcia to make it to the grid. He's got about 9 seconds before this session gets underway for him. There is pole sitter Bart Daleman, reigning champion, wearing that number 1 with pride. And the lights are about to come on for round 5, the feature race of round 5 in the NEVO Sim Stickers Formula 3 Championship from Mid-Ohio is underway. Mega launch by Bart, mega launch by Mattis as well, actually. Mattis nearly gets alongside, cuts to the inside, tries to put pressure on straight away on Bart Daleman here. He knows he needs to do this right off the bat. Let's have a look through the rest of the field, how they all shuffle through. Not too many cars on track for this one. So that's Craig Vrolic trying to defend the inside from Iker Estefania. Iker breaks early, gets out of it. Jerome Lamy's in there as well. Silas runs a little bit deep. Looks like everybody's nice and tidy through there. Martin Deckens has lost 3 places off the start though here, Ed. Taylor Lane in front, but how is that going to work with Carlos Garcia in the way?
I mean, look at them. They're all so close together. Oh my word. Jerome Lamy looking to the inside, then to the outside of Silas Craig Vrolic down into turn 4. Look at how late Craig Vrolic is on the race. He's gone too late, too deep. Loses out on not just 1, but 2 positions as he fights with Iker Estefania around the outside. Then on the inside for Estefania, I think the 2 of them come very close to touching, but they've just about kept it going. And Craig Vrolic now could lose out again, this time to Carlos Garcia, who's looking up the inside. Look at how close they get. Chaz just touching, then touching. Craig Vrolic sent wide, jumping up into the air and jumping across the grass and losing a whole host of positions. That's not the start of the race that Craig Vrolic was hoping for. He was having such a good battle as well. Look how close they were coming between himself and those 2 World of Sim Racing drivers, but unfortunately, look at it. It's the tiniest amount of contact.
Yeah, I don't think Silas left just enough room there. There was a tiny bit more room needed. As look behind, Mattis Martinsson has let Zemstra go, then moves across in front of Jerome Lamy. So definitely some teamwork coming into play here for the championship. He said to Zemstra, you need these points. You go after Bart Daleman. I'll hold off this wildcat right behind me, Jerome Lamy. Absolute star. Taylor Lane still leading the consistency class after a battle in the opening lap with Martin Deckens. We'll have a look back at Martin's start though, actually, Ed, because we usually see him not just qualify well, but start well as well. Let's have a look.
I think he was caught up in a lot of the shenanigans going down into the keyhole. We'll see he bogs down a little bit off the line. You can see him getting absolutely mugged off down the inside by that Year 1 machine. Clings his way through and then just loses out a lot on the exit of turn 1. There goes Carlos Garcia, and that was, I think, just the extent of his start. Oh, there goes Taylor Lane, slinging it around the outside, very committed, and by taking that wider line, he's allowing car to carry momentum out of the corner and carry that speed all the way down that back straight, which helped him out massively. But then we see Bart Daleman's time, the first lap in anger, and it's a very quick one of 1 minute 16.4. Extending an advantage to give it Zemstra by about 1.4 seconds. And if he's able to break this toe, get it to maybe 1.8, he will really start to clear a path off into the distance, and it'll be even more, I guess, of a mountain to climb for Kevin Zemstra. As whoa.
Okay.
Not just climbing a mountain, climbing the tyre barrier, still has Craig Vrolic.
Not sure what's happened there, but he's gone off here at turn 1. He's gone through the cones. Oh, I think he's broken the wing. Oh, he's got a cone stuck. Does he just pile it into the barriers out of frustration?
Turns into the corner, but yeah, I think he turns in, then it snaps and he realises, oh, that's it.
Yeah, I think, yeah. He just throws it in the barrier in the end out of pure frustration. Real shame to see that from Silas, but at the end of the day, you and I both know what the frustrations of sim racing can be like, Ed. It can be very, very devastating indeed. So unfortunately, Silas having a nightmare of a race here. It was a very obvious attempt to get the car into the wall. It has to be said as well, Martin Deckens has to back out of that there on the back of Carlos Garcia. Carlos just doesn't seem to have the pace in this second race so far, does he? He's been overtaken by Taylor Lane. Carlos can't do anything about him, and now he's got Martin knocking on the door as well.
Yeah, Martin's trying to find his way through. But
in the background.
Big moment in the background. Yeah, chunks coming off of both those 2 sim stickers cars. I'm not sure if there was contact. I mean, Daniele Giudici's front wing certainly looks battered and bruised on that left-hand side.
Oh, that front left wheel's bent in as well. Front left wheel properly bent in. Suspension's broken. There's damage to the back of Paul Godden's car. What has happened to these pair here?
So,
Oh, no.
whoa, and it just spins in front, and if we go on board with Giudice, there's not really anything he could have done. Just in front into turn 1, sees the car ahead, just lose it. Where can he go?
Yeah, not a chance. I tell you what, he did a good job not to hit that barrier.
Chance in hell of him getting out of that in one piece, there was there.
No, definitely not. But he did a mega job to avoid that barrier, it has to be said. Very, very good job to avoid that, especially with broken suspension. And apparently Vrolijk is happy in Dutch. That's how it translates. The word Vrolijk means happy in Dutch. So Silas wasn't Vrolijk, says Anton Dupin. I quite like that, Anton. I like that. I must admit, it's not nice to laugh at Silas because he'll be very frustrated, obviously, after that incident. But yeah, as you can see, Daniele's really, really working hard to get this car back to the pits. Fair effort, mate.
Yeah.
Fair effort.
Going to try and salvage something out of this race. Of course, one fast repair allowed to the drivers so he can get that car patched back up and running once more. 5 laps gone as well. I think we are well into the pit window for these drivers. I think 2 stops required in these feature races, if my memory serves correct.
Yeah, I believe it will be, especially around here as well, where I don't think we're going to see anybody take tyres, but I think some drivers might consider it because of how much the tyres scrub over a lot of these crests and long, fast, sweeping corners. Especially these last sectors here, they really need a good set of tyres underneath them to get the car tucked in where they want it. Right now, we've got Mattis Martinsen here with Jerome Lamy and Iker Estefania following on from him. We go on board with Iker, 5th position. Started the race in 4th. But I'd tell you what, just from that view that we saw there, Ed, around turn 1, it shows you how difficult that corner is, because there's the pit lane exit on the inside of the corner, so it just looks like one massive tarmac area, and it's not a big bright white line either. It's a sort of faded yellow line on the inside that lines you up towards that curb, so it's no wonder that people get it wrong round there, because it's very easy to misjudge.
Yeah, so many drivers have been hitting that inside curb a little bit too hard and completely damaging the front end, the front wing, and as soon as you lose that around here at Mid-Ohio, you need that front end downforce to chuck it into these corners that we're coming through now. Mattis Martinsen under huge pressure from Jerome Lamy that you just can't find a way through, can Jerome? He's really struggling to find the track space, and that's pretty much the order of the day here at Mid-Ohio. Look at that twitch as they come over the crest. That's such a tricky corner to get right, and then Jerome Lavy's looking one way, then the other. Can't find a way through as we now come up in towards the carousel. Look at the different lines being taken. Mattis favours the tighter line throughout, which seems to work better for him, but then on the exit, that wider line works in the favour of Jerome Lamy and allows him to close back down into turn 1. Does mean, of course, when drivers are racing that much closer together, those difference of approach to the corner. We've seen it before, haven't we, Chaz, in various other series? When you've got 2 different lines that you can take through a corner, if you're that close together, sometimes those 2 different lines can intersect and cause a bit of drama.
Yeah, indeed. You've got to be very careful because, you know, as a driver, you will practice those individual lines and you'll try and get used to the different approaches you can make to each corner. But you need to be wary of the fact that if other drivers are in the situation with you on the circuit in those moments, then you might end up making contact, or you have to consider how they'll overlap with one another. Sometimes you just have to concede, and that's one of the most frustrating things to do in any form of motor racing, is if you're chasing somebody, trying to make moves, trying to get past other drivers, if you do make a little mistake, or you are quicker than them and they make a mistake, sometimes you do just have to concede for the safety of the situation. You know, you can't just pile it through them and hope that you carry on, especially in cars like this that are as fragile as they are. But we saw it a moment ago, didn't we? Iker Estefania got very close to the back of Jerome Lamy out of this final corner, but it just didn't cause any issue at the time. This is Carlos Garcia, who is between 1st and 2nd at the moment in consistency. Taylor Lane going very well indeed, though. Up into the keyhole again. Oh, there was a commentator's curse moment there by the look of it from me. Sorry. Taylor going almost straight on there, but I think that's actually caught Carlos Garcia out, if anything, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying something. and then realised that my mic was muted, so none of it was coming through. But
Oh.
I was going to say that this was going brilliantly for Taylor Lane. Carlos Garcia under a lot of pressure, able just to hold on, but locks up, goes for deep, and that was brilliant from Martin Deckens, forcing Carlos into that mistake. But this was brilliant from Taylor Lane. I mean, you can be very chuffed with this. He's racing in ahead of not only a pro driver, but I guess Martin Deckens is almost a diet pro driver, isn't he? He's far and away class of this consistency field, and I have to say he's pretty much a precision driver in terms of pace, but
Yeah.
it's just the way that he was classified from previous seasons. He seems to have really found his footing, though, this time out in this NEVO SimStickers F3 Championship.
Yeah, he's been a real star of the standings so far, especially. I think he had a bit of a... Didn't he have a difficult start to the season with some incidents, and that's why he wasn't right up there to begin with, because his teammate Hans Polmans, who's just behind him here, currently leads that championship in consistency. So Hansy is currently top of it all, but he's not losing too many points per meeting to Martin Deckens, but if it carries on the way it's been going, very soon he will find himself second to his teammate. Mattis Martinsson, there we go back to him, because he's got Jerome Lamy and Iker Estefania still chasing him down, but it's settled down a little bit now, hasn't it, Ed? We always get these moments in these races where the field does sort of not separate, but they get into their own rhythms, their own battles, they realise who's around them, and they don't sort of try and break out of that. You know, they just think, let's follow each other until the first round of pit stops, and that's when things can change and we'll react from there.
Yeah, but the first round of pit stops will be coming in sooner than I think a lot of drivers will be expecting. It's going to be only, in 5 or so laps time. Drivers will be diving and darting into the pit lane, and that's going to cause all sorts of dramas. Jerome Lamy is going to really start to pick up the pace, I think, in these next few laps, because obviously having the advantage of being car ahead into the pit window does help you out quite considerably of keeping that track position after the end of the first round of pit stops. As some of the first pit stops coming through actually is Hans Polmans. We were saying, what's he going to try and do to get up the order? It seems to me that what he's going to try and do is pit early, go for an undercut.
Yeah, we've seen a few drivers try this, where we've seen the strategy change because they know that probably later on in the race they'll have to do some sort of splash and dash. Some of these drivers are really good at figuring it out and doing the splash and dash early on and then having 2 full service pit stops a little bit later in the race. They sort of switch around the order in which you do it. It helps you track position earlier on in the race, but it means that you're slightly out of sync, so you might not completely know where you all filter back in with one another after that first pit stop, and that can make a big difference to your race. It can make a big difference to your mental attitude and the way you approach the rest of the race, but certain drivers have ways of overcoming that and getting around these sorts of elements. Martin Deckens right now, though, is all over the back of Taylor Lane, or he is temporarily anyway, as Martin makes his way into the pits. That Flemish car looks fantastic on black wheels, it has to be said. Hans Polmans runs the silver wheels on his car, and it looks a bit cleaner with the silver wheels on it, but I must say Martin Deckens' car with the black wheels looks quite beefy, doesn't it? It looks very purposeful.
Yeah, it really does, and purposeful at the front of the field. Art Daleman, he's just absolutely storming away with it at this moment in time. 11 laps gone, and now with a 3-second advantage to second place Kevin Zemstra. That is a wonderful start to the race for Bart. Almost a dream start. Of course, he'd be hoping that there was maybe a car or two between him and Kevin Zemstra for the championship. Well, Bart will extend his advantage after this feature race. If it stays as it does, it won't be by as much as I think he was hoping for.
No, well, that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, he'll still be happy to extend that gap if he can, but yeah, like you say, it's the more you can extend it by, the better. You never want to wish sort of a bad race on your competitors. A lot of these guys, they all get on, they're all really good friends, but you don't want to wish a bad race on anybody. But at the same time, for the championship, you hope that your rivals have a tough time as Jerome Lamy, as always, right on the limit there of the track, and very, very close to causing himself to have a big moment. But we've seen straight away at the first round that he did this season at Belle Isle, he loves to be right on the limit. He's just not quite on the pace as we saw him at Belle Isle or Donington Park. He really was able to take it to Bart Delman during those 2 rounds. But here, not quite on the same level, is he?
But this is a track that's so difficult to get right, and you need to have a lot of experience here. As you can just see, it's so tricky. Like I was saying, it's so tricky to get right, and Jerome Lamy just isn't quite at that point of this circuit. It's one that really suits some drivers and others just can't quite get their heads around. So I think this could be a bit of a bogey track, perhaps for Jerome Lamy. You can see as well as they came over that crest how much he was working the tyres, that front axle working like a charm just to actually keep the car pointed in the right direction. Those wheel movements being very, very apparent. The first round of pit stops should be coming for these front runners very shortly. Then Jerome Lamy is trying to get a bit of a move on now to get ahead of Mattis Martinson, who runs wide of turn 1, put under pressure now into the keyhole. Jerome's going to look around the outside, but braking just slightly earlier, maybe focusing on the exit. Seemingly nailing it, but then again, so does Mattis Martinson. Once more, Jerome Lamy will have to have the frustrations of being in behind Mattis Martinson for the next half a lap.
He will indeed. We look back towards Martin Deckens because we wait to see where Taylor Lane comes out of the pits, and there he is, right in front of him. So these two reunited very closely on track by about 0.3 of a second. We'll keep our eye and see roughly where they end up in relation to each other. You'll see the gap was 1.2 seconds as they cross the line. Now it's less than 0.2 of a second in the bottom right of your screen. And they are very, very close together indeed, side by side actually, as they make their way into turn 4. Martin Deckens leaves plenty of room. That's one thing that has to be said actually about Martin, is when we do see him racing, he seems to be one of these drivers that's very level-headed. He leaves a lot of room. He knows how to sort of outdrive the other drivers by not pushing too hard. You know, he's a very wise racer, isn't he, from what we've seen?
I think very sensible is the thing you can say about him. He doesn't push it too far. He knows the limits and knows how to race cleanly, but also, you know, gets his elbows out from time to time, which is what you'll have to see. But for the most part, he is a very, very respectful driver, which is wonderful. I think he's got quite a few friends here in this NEVO paddock. You don't make friends, of course, by being an aggressive driver. Even if you're aggressive and fair, sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, and sportsmanship always appreciated here, isn't it, Chaz?
Yeah, definitely. You know, if you've, especially when you've got used to the drivers that you're on track with, you know, if you've raced with a number of these guys for a while and you know who behaves in what way, you know, you always do get drivers that will be aggressive. You know, they'll go for a move at every single corner if they can, but sometimes you just learn how to deal with that and how to defend from them. You know, they can dig themselves into a hole quite quickly. You've just got to be able to overcome that. At the moment, we've got the top 5 drivers, or the top 6 actually, have not pitted. So Wayne Palmer is yet to pit. He currently leads the consistency class on the road, but in the bigger picture of things, he will not be in the lead of the class. Mattis Martinson comes into the pits after that great qualifying earlier. He makes his first stop of the race, and Deckens is still right behind Taylor Lane here. This battle's still going on.
Yeah, and there's going to be a battle in the pits as well. Where is Jerome Lamy in relation to Mattis Martinson? Because those two were nose to tail before the pit stops. Jerome Lamy had a little bit of time in clear air, but as he makes his way through turn 1, he finds himself, you know, considerably behind that number 15 Alcantec car now. So it hasn't been the best outlap for Jerome Lamy, and that's really showing in terms of the gap that's been created.
Yeah, definitely. It certainly has expanded during those pit stops. In terms of the actual pit stop times, Martinson was only stationary for 0.3 of a second less. About 0.8 of a second in total less than Jerome Lamy during his whole pit stop, as Brian Loynes drives completely over the grass there for just a moment, takes out one of the curbs. The cones on the way down. Bart Daleman, race and championship leader, into the pits. So too is Kevin Zemstra. Iker Estefania, I imagine, will follow through as well. Yes, he does. And Carlos Garcia, let's just see where he goes on this one. I imagine, yes, into the pits. So clearly that is all they can do on the fuel. Wayne Palmer will join them, and the first car to come around that has already pitted is Mattis Martinson. Bart Daleman is already on his way out, and already out of the pit lane, it must be said. He's already gone. Kevin Zemstra makes his way out as well, whereas Iker Estefania in relation to Martinson. Jerome Lamy has gone through as well. So those guys making their way further up. Martinson pretty much drives off the road to avoid everybody else. Lane and Deccan still ahead of Garcia as well further down. So a number of this really sort of slotting back into place. I'm going to try and use the pit strategy graphic again so we can see. No, it still doesn't like me. It didn't like me last time round, did it either? For some reason, that doesn't want to work. So I can only apologise, everybody, but maybe I've not set the colours right or something. I don't know. But most of them pitted on lap 15. Mattis Martinson lap 14, Jerome Lamy lap 13. We've got Daniele Giudici off the road. That's the final corner. But Daniele, in his typical fashion, continues to try again and push on, which is one thing we love about Daniele. He's not a driver that really gives up. It's great to see.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. Looking as well at some of the different strategies that might be coming through. I mean, Stefani running that stint longer than the two cars ahead of him, Jerome Lamy and Mattis Martinson, could see him very comfortably in that fight towards the end of the race. You never know, with that shorter final pit stop, could start to shake things around in that fight for that final podium position, Chaz. And Stefani, let's not forget, he got his first race victory just a few moments ago in the sprint race. Driver that's really going to be on a high and trying to carry that forward with not just the race victory here at Mid-Ohio, but also an extra podium this time in the feature. We're going to see what he can do, because he's dropped back, I think, a little bit actually in terms of that battle.
Yeah.
About 1.6 seconds. But of course, when Mattis Martinson and Jerome Lamy start to battle, which they inevitably will, he'll be right up there.
Yeah, he'll be ready to pounce as soon as there's any opportunity. And I look forward to seeing what he can do to make that difference, because you know, when you get a lot of points out of the first race of the night, you need to follow it up and make sure you're consistent across the evening. And right now, 5th place will still be strong points, but the battle to look at is definitely between these two boys, isn't it, at the front of the consistency class.
It is. It's all about that battle for the consistency class. And I mean, Taylor Lane, what a drive he's been having so far. He's been able to keep Martin Deckens at bay. Martin locking up, we just saw, into the carousel. Starting to show maybe a little bit of struggle. Which I think it'll be probably after Sebring. This is probably the first time we've actually seen that from Martin. A bit of struggle coming through.
Yeah, it's intriguing, isn't it? Because he's been so quick through the rest of the season that he made it look easy a lot of the time. But as soon as he's had that poor start early on, he's just not been able to recover from it, has he? Not quite able to beat Taylor. We know how fast Taylor can be. He is one of the previous champions of the consistency class in this championship. I think it might have been Academy class, actually. No, I think it was consistency that Taylor won a few seasons ago. Bit of a lock up there into turn 4, over the crest. Again, look at the understeer from the cars there. You can see just how when it floats, the rear end wants to break away. Martin's really putting his pressure on now, actually. He's turned it on this lap, hasn't he? We're over the halfway point now, Ed. 18 laps are going to be complete this time round out of the 35 planned. Look at the way these cars move around here. It's great to see.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Just look at this. Trying to carve his way through, find his way through past Taylor Lane. But Martin Deckens, he's struggling, you know, Chaz. He's really starting to suffer a little bit through these high speed corners, and maybe we're seeing an effect of the slipstream, the dirty air coming through, using the tyres a little bit more, and that could really hurt Martin Deckens towards the end of this race.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It can affect your mental attitude to the race all the way through. You know, if you have to make a move or try and push really hard in the opening stages, or even in the middle point of the race, you know, as you get later on into the race, you can just find yourself frustrated. As Jerome Lamy has got past Mattis Martinson here, head down into turn 4. It's going to be a nice straightforward move. Good to see him actually make that gap back up so quickly and then get the position gained. Oh, it was very close though, wasn't it?
That was very touch and go. For a moment, we thought, you could see Mattis thought about sending it back up the inside, but even though Jerome Lamy's got the move done, he's not been able to get away from Mattis Martinson yet. You would have thought maybe with clear air through those tight, twisty sections, that would have really benefited him, but for now, you can see Mattis Martinsson keeping him honest. Let's not forget the qualifying performance that Mattis put in to go P2 right at the end. We know he has that pace in him, and now that Draycott's got clear air, it's almost like he doesn't know how much pace you can actually take into these corners now that he's got clear air in front. He's testing his luck, pushing the limits. Thankfully, he's not been punished too heavily for that one. Just did a little bit of cone murdering, and might need to look in his rearview mirrors rather than ahead of him for the pressure in behind of Mattis Martinsson. Mattis looking a little bit to the inside, then forced them all the way around the outside. How late can he be on the brakes and keep it on the track? About that late, and still he can't find his way through. And Iker Stefania, like we said, just wait for him to try and close that gap down. He is right up there in this fight now, Chaz.
Yeah, properly in on it now, isn't he? It's a real trio instead of just the 1v1 that we had before. Great stuff to watch. Wow, that was a hell of a moment. That was a very, very big moment there. And right now, these drivers will all be focusing on what each other are doing so much that they might put themselves off, as Jerome Lamy has a big wobble out of the final corner. Not quite sure if he was just trying to scrub the tyres or something, whether he got a bit of dirt on them, because you do feel it here in iRacing when you run over a bit of the gravel or a bit of the dust around the edge of the curb. And now look at this, down the inside, Mattis Martinsson sticks his nose through there. Jerome Lamy takes a late apex, says, now watch this, I'm going to get the run on the exit. Does so, and now tries to break the slipstream. Look at that, both of them follow him. Iker Stefania following Mattis Martinsson as well. He now sticks to the inside. Sometimes, though, in those situations, Ed, I tend to just keep the car in a straight line. You know, if people are trying to break the slipstream in front, I don't scrub the speed off. I just try and stick with them in a straight line. But maybe I don't know something these guys know.
I've seen this happen once before, Chaz, and it was right at the end of an endurance race at the Nürburgring on the Nordschleife, all the way down the Dottinger Straight. Car in front was weaving a lot to try and break the toe, but by weaving, you're spending more time flat out. You're giving actually more time for the driver in behind to slipstream. They weave in behind and gain, and that actually was enough of a sort of a time differential to allow a driver to sling it up the inside and actually get a move done. And the weaving hurt them in the end, Chaz. So maybe it's something to think about trying to do, but not necessarily something that always works out in your favour. Maybe make one move to try and make a driver, you know, go for it, or decide not to, and see what you can do. But weaving constantly right, left just gives you more time spent on that straight, punching a hole for all the cars in behind to gain on you.
Yeah, it can very, very quickly go one way then the other in these battles, can't it? You know, you can often see somebody try and attack and then have to defend all of a sudden because they're stuck in the middle and there's not much else they can do. It can be a bit frightening when you are that driver as well. You know, there's a lot of work to be done in these sorts of races because they're not sprint races, especially even the first ones. You know, there's still a lot of laps to have things go right or have things go wrong. And right now we're seeing some brilliant battles, and the drivers are all keeping it nice and respectful. They've still got quite a while left to go in this race yet, still 12 laps. Let's not forget the first race of the evening was 14 laps, so they've nearly got that entire race distance left to go yet.
Yeah, there's plenty of time still in this race for drivers to see what they can do, see what they can muster up to find those extra few positions they're chasing down. Martin Decken's chasing Taylor Lane for all he's worth, but sadly for Martin Deckens of Simracersworld, it's not really forthcoming, is there? There's not a gap that seems to be opening up for the 127. And again, this is a brilliant battle that's been raging the entire race long. The resilience off of Taylor Lane. Hopefully I'm not going to cuss of the commentator. I've been pretty bad at that in the recent memory, so I'm firmly holding onto my desk here, touching wood, that it's not going to come all apart for Taylor Lane, because he's had such a good resilient drive to not make any mistakes and keep Martin Deckens at bay for now.
Yeah, he's putting the car where he needs to. You know, he's not giving Martin enough to get past him, but at the same time, Martin might just be trying to psych him out here. He might just be playing some mind games. He knows there's a long way to go in the race. He's just filling his mirrors, keeping the pressure on, look. And here it comes. He's actually moving to the right-hand side now towards the end of the lap. If he can hang it around there, he'll have the inside at the carousel, but no. He's just getting alongside Taylor, just getting into his head, or is he? Look at that for a move down the inside into the carousel. Martin Deckens has the inside line. That becomes the outside for the final corner. Taylor Lane stays on the left. Has he got an overlap? No. But Taylor won't dare move over on him yet. He's going to wait till he gets in front at turn 1. Now can Martin get the run? This is great battling between the pair. Mind that cone, boys. Looks like Carlos Garcia gives no damn about that cone. But into the keyhole once more. Fantastic scrapping between the pair of them here, Ed. But Taylor's putting the car where he needs to. Martin is just really piling on the pressure now.
Yeah, he really is. And this could be a move that was set up several corners in the making, because it's been forcing Taylor Lane to take a poor line through the keyhole. Martin Deckens in the prime spot, but around the outside into turn 4, it's so difficult to get right. Again, they're trying to switch back maneuver. Again, they battle side by side. But finally, I think Taylor Lane is able to hold on. What does he? Because Martin Deckens looks to fight back. But no, just about keeping it nose to tail now, and no way through from Martin Deckens. But over here, this was where we saw the initial mistake from Taylor Lane. As I was saying, he's having a great race. He made one little moment that opened the door for Martin Deckens to try and find a way through. And if Martin pulled that off, I mean, that was a stunning move, wasn't it? Down the inside through this carousel corner to try and upset the rhythm. Carlos Garcia decides, right, stuff this. I'm coming into the pits. You lot can battle it out, slow each other down. I'm going to go in, try and undercut with my clear air. I don't need to worry about you two battling. You two can slow each other down, and then when you make your pit stops, I'll have about 5 seconds up the road to you.
Yeah, definitely. He's been doing a great job, and he's just sort of sat behind these guys up until now. He's just come back out of the pits as well. There's a couple of cars that have made 2 stops. Mattis Martinsen has just finished his 2nd stop as well. He dropped down out of what was 4th position. Let's not forget he started on the front row of the grid, did Mattis, so he's hoping to be right back up there. Jerome Lamy holds on to 3rd place at the moment. Zemstra is still in 2nd, 3.6 seconds up the road. Bart Daleman has about a 6.7 second lead as of right now, and he's continuing to just extend that bit by bit. Although Iker Estefania is just on a purple sector 3 in the 76 car. He's very much on his own as well, actually. 2 seconds ahead to Lamy, and then 10 seconds back to Taylor Lane. But Iker has certainly been pushing on this lap, and it seems like that first win of the season in that first race has really inspired him somewhat.
Yeah, and now it's going to be down to what can he do to try and grab a podium potentially. I mean, Jerome Lamy is looking very quick at this moment in time. Iker Estefania not quite been able to capitalise. Mattis Martinsen has made his 2nd pit stop of the race. His final one as well, you would expect. So that's put all of these drivers that were battling at once all close together, just slightly out of order, slightly off sync. But I wonder what that's going to do for the race when all of these drivers make their last pit stop, as Martin Deckens in behind Carlos Garcia.
Yeah, so Carlos gets in front after that stop, so it's worked for him. And importantly now, Martin might not be able to go flat out on this first outlap here, so potentially we could see Taylor Lane hold on to the lead in the consistency class. Taylor needs a good stop though. 4.22 seconds. Martin Deckens pit stop. He was in the pits for about 26.8 seconds. Carlos Garcia was in there for about 2.6 seconds less in the entire pit lane. So he must have had the entry and exit nailed. Jerome Lamy does the fastest lap of the race, a 1:15.5. Hello, sunshine. Wow. Well, he's just done a purple sector, but he's just done something brown as well, I must admit, because wow, that was a very sketchy moment, to say the least. Let's have another look.
Heart and mouth stuff. I mean, heart almost falling out of his rear end. Look at that. Good Lord, Jerome Lamy. He's pushing this car like you wouldn't believe.
It is incredible to see. Here's Taylor Lane coming round turn 1 after just coming out of the pits, and look behind him, Carlos Garcia and Martin Deckens. He's even further back now, so Taylor is in a very good position. Carlos 7th in his class, 9th overall at the moment. Doesn't really want to get between these guys and sort of cause any issues, but at the end of the day, he's having his own race and he's going about it however he wants to. Now, your positions overall in the race do not matter towards what championship points you get. Your championship points are calculated on your position in class. So even if Palmer finishes where he is now, as long as he's ahead of Brian Loynes or whether he's behind Brian Loynes, it won't change anything. Same with Taylor Lane and Garcia as well. So even if Garcia drops behind Deckens won't gain any points.
Stefania fastest lap.
Oh yeah, he flings it in. 15.4.
Jerome Lamy's only 2 seconds up the road. If he has a few more laps like that, that gap's coming way, way down.
It is indeed. Now let's not forget Mattis Martinsen has had 2 pit stops. He's behind these guys by about 19 seconds. 25 seconds roughly is the shortest time we've had in the pit stops so far. So he's certainly going to get back out in front of Iker Estefania, maybe in front of Jerome Lamy, but Iker is pushing hard right now. No purple sectors so far on this lap, but that is intriguing pace. 7 laps to go here, Ed. It's gone by very quickly once again here at Mid-Ohio, but it's been intriguing to see because it's difficult to string a lap together here. Certain drivers just, as you mentioned before, inconsistently, it must be said, are able to just do one really good lap every now and then, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's all it is. It's about putting in those laps where it counts. Well, Daleman's been consistently quick, and that's the difference maker. Just the consistency from this man who's been able to keep it going. His lap times have started to slow down a little bit, but he was really taking a lot out of those tyres at the beginning of this race just to build up that gap, that advantage that now sits at a comfortable 6, almost 7 seconds. Jerome Lamy now coming into the pits. That releases Iker Estefania up at front, and that was a short time stationary, wasn't it, from Jerome Lamy. Mattis Martinsen coming out of the final corner, now into turn 1, just as Jerome Lamy has already made his way through actually turn 1.
Wow, he's gone.
That is the gap. He is gone. He is cleared off down the road. But now Jerome Lamy is going to think, okay, I've done that. Where is Iker Estefania going to come out?
Yeah, indeed. And in terms of the time in the pits, Lamy was actually in the pits for 0.4 of a second longer than Mattis Martinsen. That's entry to exit. His pit stop was only about 0.07 of a second faster as well. It was very close in terms of the pit stop times, but Mattis just not able to keep the pace up as Jerome has done. Look at the 4-wheel slide there from the car. Very scary moment. Bart Daleman's just on the fastest lap of the race, so 1:15.349. So that tells you how worn out the tyres are as he gets to this point of the race. Continues to fly. 1:15.8 from Zemstra. Zemstra's still been going strong, though, it must be said. You know, he's not quite with Bart at the moment, but in terms of doing what he can in the championship to do a bit of damage limitation, this has been a strong race for that, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has. I mean, he's probably going to look back on the whole evening and think what could have been if he got turn 1 right on that first race, the sprint race where he lost a whole host of positions and dropped in behind his championship rival, Bart Daleman. This will be 2 races where he's finished in behind his main championship rival, but only 1 place behind, which will be some small comfort, I'm sure. Now, it's not going to be comforting if you're in the car with Taylor Lane looking in behind, because he's not just got 1 car closing in of Carlos Garcia, but also for the consistency class, most importantly, Martin Deckens is right up there, just waiting in the wings, I think. Almost poised like a vulture, ready to pick up any scraps that might come through, because Carlos Garcia, less than 0.3 of a second as they exit the keyhole. Prime overtaking position now into turn 1. But look at the gap that's been created. Doesn't necessarily need to fight it. I don't think he does, although you can see that they've made a bit of a mess of this one. They've slowed each other down massively. Taylor Lane's just, I think, was hoping that it would have been done nice and quick and painlessly, but it was sort of belaboured a little bit. It took a while to get done, that move. Martin Deckens, though, unfortunately for his sake, wasn't able to quite capitalise. Wasn't close enough to really make any inroads.
I don't think that's going to go down well with Taylor Lane, as Iker Estefania has just come out of the pits, by the way. Mattis Martinsen is flying around the corner, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. He's not, so Estefania has jumped Martinsen in the pits despite being in there for longer, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to Mattis Martinsen, but something has not gone right. Taylor Lane, though, as I was going to say, will not be happy with that from Carlos Garcia. Yes, Carlos is well in his right to overtake him and make a move, but that will not go down well at all with Taylor, because it's affected him, it's slowed him down. I think as well, though, not to sound too brutal to Taylor, but if he hadn't have tried to stay alongside and just let him slot in front, I think it probably would have been a bit less painful, really. I think Carlos would have easily just slipped by. Taylor could have slotted in behind, and then maybe they wouldn't have held each other up as much and sort of invited Martin Deckens back in on this fight. I want to look forward, though, at Bart Daleman and see if he does need to come in for another stop here, because by the look of it, he could maybe even make this to the end. I'm not sure, though. I don't think he will. Because
I think he's already made a pit stop. I think he's already made his second pit stop.
Oh, he has?
On lap 30.
Yeah, he has actually, yeah. Sorry. Well, there you go.
He snuck on through when we were watching that battle, I think, between Taylor Lane and Carlos Garcia. I think that was when he made his most recent pit stop. He snuck through, I think, when we were distracted. Sneaky Bart Daleman. Sneaky like a black mamba snake, the Mamba Sim Sport driver.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, Carlos Garcia, he's actually going to be helping out Taylor Lane from the slipstream, you know, all the way down out of the keyhole down towards turn 4, the place where Taylor is going to be most vulnerable to an overtake. There's going to be that slipstream assistance, and Taylor Lane, while he's going to be upset maybe from the nature of the move from Carlos Garcia, the fact that they were side by side for so many more corners than I think he was hoping for, what's done is done, and now he's just focusing on making the most out of this situation, and by doing so he's able to get plenty of slipstream assistance. And while look at this, Martin Deckens is as close as he's ever been coming out of that hairpin. He's just not able to make any inroads because of that slipstream.
Yeah, that's it. It's not quite enough around here, is it, to completely guarantee a move? But we're back to this stalemate once again, where Taylor Lane is pushing as hard as he can, and Martin Deckens has just got enough in the tank to just sit right behind him underneath that rear wing. It's a scary place to be when you are Taylor Lane right now. You can see he's got the Venom-style helmet design as well as Martin Deckens, a very aggressive, wide-open mouth with all the sharp teeth on it, the horrendous sort of alien-like eyes on the top of it as well. Very menacing things to have chasing you down, to be honest with you, as you can tell by as my voice breaks. But Taylor, look at the speed through there. Taylor carries a lot more speed than Martin Deckens. I think maybe a little bit of the dirty air affecting him here.
Yeah, it is, or maybe just it's down to the tyres as well, Chaz. I said maybe it's going to affect him come the end of the race, spending so long behind another car, bringing the heat into the tyres, and maybe they're starting to wear. Maybe this is Martin Deckens just seeing the class victory, the consistency class victory, starting to slip from his grasp. 33 laps on the board so far. For me, Bart Daleman was blinked out for a moment. That was worrying. I saw out just flash next to his name, and that was scary. But no, he's carrying on. Just a few internet blips here and there, but I'll tell you what, it's been a brilliant try from him. He's said that he hadn't had too much sleep, but I'm certain he'll be sleeping soundly after tonight.
Oh, he will indeed. If he can extend his championship lead even further, it'll look more and more likely that we'll see that car return for another season with the number 1 on the nose and on the rear wing as well. He said that he was very happy to retire from Formula 3 racing and iRacing now that he'd won the Simracersworld Formula 3 series, but it's great to see him continue on, run that number 1 with pride as well. It's one of my favourite things in motorsport, you know. It's a really nerdy thing to like about motorsport, but one of my favourite things when a driver runs their finishing position from the previous season as their car number for the following season. You know, it used to be mandatory in a lot of championships, and I think it's just a great way of, it sort of gives not just us commentators but spectators as well, and people that watch the live streams and the broadcasts, it gives you a good indicator as to the drivers to watch out for. You know, the drivers that were right up there last season. British Touring Car Championship used to enforce it year after year, and it was beautiful because you knew exactly who were the top dogs from the previous season, who might be a bit of an underdog this time round. You know, if you've got a car like in 94 where number 55 and 56 are right up there in the championship, you know, because they didn't have a number for the previous season, the 2 Alfa Romeos, it was great because they were battling with cars like 1, 2, 4 and so on. Anyway, Bart Daleman is on to the final lap now, Ed, and well, it's been another Bart Daleman-esque performance, hasn't it? Very Vettel-like, as we've described him before. He can get the pace to put it on pole, just drive away and keep it clean.
Yeah, it's going to be a brilliant drive from Bart Daleman. Lights the flag, virtually unchallenged all the way through. A commanding drive from last season's champion, looking to, at this halfway stage of this season, secure himself as the man to beat this season as well. And he's done a great job across all 5 rounds, including this one. Looks to add yet another race victory to his already growing impressive tally so far this season. Only a few more corners to go, Chaz, and Bart Daleman will start to see his championship lead increase ever more after all of the action here at Mid-Ohio.
And this is one kip that Bart Daleman will be really looking forward to after this one. He's done the hard work, he's rounded the final corner, and he blinks in and out while taking a win, does Bart Daleman. Fantastic performance indeed. Amazing, amazing drive once again. Kevin Zemstra, damage limitation. Good job, Sunshine. Finishes in second. Jerome Lamy, after qualifying 7th, makes a fantastic effort to finish in 3rd. Now, where is the battle for consistency? Estefania is 4th. Martinson is 5th. Then it's Brian Loynes and Carlos Garcia. But right behind him, it's not enough for Martin Deckens. Taylor Lane takes the win in the consistency class, and you can tell that one means a lot. That was like Schumacher in 2002, I think it was, at Manicourt when he won the championship. But yeah, that was a lot of emotion pouring out from Taylor Lane there because he worked so hard for that one. Hans Pullman's another great podium in the consistency class, but plenty of fun once again here from this championship, Ed. But Bart Daleman supreme once again.
Oh, what a drive that was from Bart. What a drive that was from Taylor as well, just hanging on barely. Tips of his fingers to the consistency class victory. Keeping Martin Deckens at bay for the entire race. Those two were nose to tail. That takes some mental fortitude. Brilliant stuff from the fiercely forward driver. Wow. What a performance. What an evening. What a track Mid-Ohio has been for all these drivers this evening. An amazing venue for an amazing series, and with all the action done, Chaz, we've now officially hit the halfway point of this season.
We have, yeah. It's quite incredible that we've already got to that point, isn't it, really? It's certainly time flying when we're having fun, we have to say. But once again, the SimStickers Formula 3 Championship, very, very enjoyable. Bart Daleman wins then by nearly 7.5 seconds from Kevin Zemstra. Jerome Lamy gets a very impressive podium after qualifying only 7th. Iker Estefania, great night for him. A 1st place and a 4th place, he'll be really chuffed. Mattis Martinson looked strong early on, but unfortunately just didn't quite get there. Use English, Chaz, by the end of the race. Brian Loynes, very under the radar in 6th place after some of the runs that we've seen him have throughout the season. Carlos Garcia finishes in 7th after getting the better of Taylor Lane and Martin Deckens, who are the two cars finishing right behind him. Fiercely forward lead, Flemish Sim Sports, and then Flemish Sim Sports by Viraco in the top 3 in consistency. Wayne Palmer was the last car, finishing 49 seconds down. Daniele Giudici, Paul Godden and Silas Kragrulik did not finish the race, and unfortunately Ed May did not take to the grid. Well,
I was just giving everyone a chance there. I think it would have been too unfair if I came on and didn't give anyone a chance to win. So, I thought Bart Daleman, he's a bit tired. That'd be too mean for me. So look at that. You can see how much of he's doing, spinning it around, and he knows after the disappointment as well of the last time out at Imola, let's not forget he had a torrid time. Saw his championship lead slashed in half almost. But now he is almost certainly going to have a nice healthy advantage to Kevin Zemstra after this evening. Hopefully we can have a chat to a couple drivers. I know, Chaz, you've got to get sorted. You've got a lot to do this evening, so we're not going to keep you too long, but it would be good to have a chat to some standout drivers because this has been a brilliant 5th round.
It has indeed, yeah. We will drag some drivers in just a moment. Just trying to make sure that I've got something fixed at this end that I just had a bit of a problem with. But yes, we will try and drag in some people and see. Let's have a look. Who've we got? Well, I'll tell you what, very, very chuffed to speak to this man, as ever. We always have a good laugh. But Taylor Lane, absolutely awesome race, especially to end your evening there, that feature race. Talk us through it, mate, because you had to work really ruddy hard there to keep that Deckens boy behind, didn't you?
Did you guys enjoy that?
Yeah, oh yeah, very much so, mate. That was a lot of fun to watch.
I got absolutely everything out of the car in that race. With it like 3 laps to go, my spotter called for you're going to need to pit for tyres soon.
Oh right.
So I'm getting everything out of them tyres. track was so hot. It stayed hot for ages. It was still at 40 degrees Celsius come the end of the race, but
Wow.
I just had to try and keep cool because Martin's quick. He's very quick, and you could see that he's very calm and collected. He wasn't going to make any stupid moves, and it was just a case of just try and keep him behind.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's easier said than done a lot of the time with someone like Martin. You know, he, like you say, he's so fast. We're just having a quick look, sort of slow-mo style, at your start as well, because Martin didn't get a great getaway, dropped a couple of places, and then you just sort of floated around the outside when he got held up by Garcia. It didn't seem to be like that aggressive a start from you. It was nice and measured, but were you very happy to see that he was behind you after the first couple of corners?
Yeah, to be honest, it took me a couple of laps to look at my overlay to realise I was actually in the lead. I was like, how did that happen? Because I think I went around the outside at turn, I think it's turn 3. They do their naming weird in America, but I think so. Turn 3, my experience with Ivora going around the outside is actually quicker than going on the inside because it's off camber.
Yeah.
So you can carry a little bit more speed over the crest, and it allows you to gain a few places. So that was a few cheap positions.
Well, it certainly worked out, mate. And then, of course, throughout the race, you had Carlos Garcia there with you as well, battling away with him. Almost cost you lead in the class, though. What was going through your mind at that point? Because we were wondering whether your blood was boiling.
No, it wasn't. I was just trying my best to keep him behind because I needed that buffer to Martin. I just needed that little buffer. But when he went for it, and the gap just closed very quickly. I actually got a 0x for it, so a little bit of net code. But luckily, it didn't end the race.
Well, thankfully so, because it was a very, very impressive win in the class, mate. Next time round, we're going to be going under lights at Charlotte Roval. How are you feeling about that one?
I'm hoping I can make it to the race because I might be working that night.
Ah, man.
So fingers crossed I'll be free for that race because that'll be a great fun. So get ready to see some sparks and some mayhem.
Oh yeah, we are. Me and Ed have already got some popcorn on order for that one. But still, a great performance tonight, Taylor. Very enjoyable again. Always a pleasure to speak to you, mate. And is there anyone you'd like to give a thanks to?
You too, as always, putting on a great effort. Just, even with your technical issues tonight, Chaz. I've had the stream on in the background again.
Nice.
Yeah, no, you two put on a great show as always. The organisers, Bart's he's always doing a great effort with this series. It's brought him to his knees at times, but he's always persevered and he's pushing it forward regardless, and he's doing really well with it. Shout out to Fiercely Forward, my team, and to Gomez Sim Industries. Yeah, that's about it.
Lovely stuff. Well, a pleasure as always, like I say, Taylor. Thanks for joining us, mate. And we'll see you hopefully at Charlotte Roval next time out.
Fingers crossed.
Cheers, mate. Well, there you go, Taylor Lane. Like you said, well, like he said there, Ed, he was getting everything out of that car. And as you predicted, mate, tyres were becoming an issue. But we thought it was becoming an issue for Martin maybe in the latter stages there. But Taylor obviously getting the call as well.
Yeah, it works both ways. Obviously, Taylor uses all the tyres to try and stay in front, and Martin was using all the tyres to try and chase and find a way through. And at the end, very, very tight stuff. Obviously, yeah, spotter saying you need tyres, and I think the answer was a big resounding no from Taylor. He wants to hold on. And we have another driver. We've interviewed the consistency class Victor. Why not interview the precision class Victor? Bart Daleman joins us in the chat. And I mean, well done, Bart. That was a wonderful drive, commanding, lights the flag drive from you. You've got to be very pleased with that for your championship.
Yeah, it was a good evening. The race one was also unpredicted that I would be P2. I was already happy that I was P5. So yeah, it was a very, very good meeting. And my closest competitor, Kevin, was always behind me. So that's good.
Yeah, we could see at the end of the race, your donuts signified that you really enjoyed this evening. And just talk us through what your expectation was like coming into it, because you said that you weren't feeling too great, operating on not too much sleep.
Yeah, I was. Normally I was going to write an article over the previous race, and I went awake. I came awake like 1 hour before the race. So I was like, I have to do stuff, and I had to do standings and things like that. So I was a bit tired. I have all the early shifts, but I had confidence in the track though, because I had a good pace all week. And it was fun to drive. I had some superstition about the track that if it really is going to work for F3, but yeah, those cars do everything. Every track is just a surprise. So yeah, Mid Ohio was really good, and Kevin was pretty fast in practice yesterday. So I didn't think it was going to become easy this evening.
Yeah, and with all the action of week 5, Mid-Ohio now behind us, we've hit the halfway point of the season. You're coming into the second half as the championship leader. What does that do just for your confidence coming into Charlotte?
Yeah, this was a good confidence booster, and you can see that the hard work is paying off. And yeah, just happy that Jerome had not the best of evenings. So and with his 2 races that he missed, he is already in a back foot. So I think my closest or my fiercest competitor will be Zwemstra, who is just very consistent. He didn't win a race yet, but he's always up there. You know, he's always in the top 3, and so yeah, he's going to be very fierce based on his consistency this season.
Well, hopefully the rivalry continues to be fierce, but also fair between the pair of you when we come down to Charlotte in a week's time. All the very best, but great to have a chat with you. Before we say goodbye to you, though, is there anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to here on the channel?
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for the broadcast, and thank Chaz that he's going to do some extra work for the podcast. So thanks, mate. And yeah, that's it for now. Thanks to the admins. To Paul for some stickers.
No worries, Bart. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Enjoy your nice rest. Enjoy your nice sleep after tonight, because you've earned it, that's for certain.
Thank you.
Cracking stuff. Always a pleasure to speak to Bart Delman, and another win to add to a very, very big tally actually by now, Ed. And we've spoken about it before, haven't we? That, you know, Bart has so many wins to his name, and obviously the championship to go with it. He's showing us right now why he is the reigning champion in these feature races especially.
Yeah, he's not having an easy time of it, but when he needs to pull it out, he really does go for it and gets the results when he needs to. And Bart Daleman now comes into the final half, the second half really, of the season. Both one and the same thing, Ed. Your head screwed on straight. But Bart Daleman goes into the second half of the season as comfortably the championship leader, but Kevin Zemstra is going to do all he can at Charlotte to close that gap down and make the championship charge. So stay tuned to Chaz Draycott Media, because that's where the action's going to be in a week's time.
It is indeed. Now, you may have to forgive me in a week's time when I come back. I might be absolutely shattered from being with with Cleo's in Madrid, because I think I get back in the morning and then I've got a load of stuff to do in the day. I think I'm taking somebody to the hospital and so on, and doing a few other bits in the evening as well. So forgive me if I'm tired on Tuesday, but I really, really hope you will join me and Ed there. It's been another pleasure once again. Thank you, of course, to Ed as well for continuing to commentate and give us the feed while I had my horrendous disconnection. Again, apologies for that, but hopefully that will be the last time we see it, at least for the foreseeable. But thanks for watching for now, everybody. Great to see you all once again, and enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you again very, very soon.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.